All right, good morning, guys. I had uploaded an enrichment video on hygiene. So just want to tie this all together, why we're practicing hygiene and infectious disease, because we need some learning on that. So some of the slides I'm going to briefly go through because they're in that video, the first one, and then I'm going to introduce new material to tie everything with the main idea. So we talked about hygiene. Students will be able to explain the importance of maintaining good hygiene, right? And then now we're going to have to be able to define 4 categories of pathogens. Those are those germs I talked about, and examples of illnesses caused by each one. All right. So as you're thinking to yourself, what are 2 things you do to practice and maintain good hygiene? Right. So maybe you're referring to my old lesson. Maybe you were doing some things earlier. Okay. So for me right now, I'm definitely practicing social distancing. And if I am working out, because I'm worried about germs, like I'm bringing a towel and my own spray bottle, and I'm like cleaning all the equipment. So that's something that I'm doing to be a little bit more self-conscious, on top of washing my hands to the point where the skin is getting dry. So now I got to start using more lotion, so my skin doesn't dry out too much. All right, that's really that. So we know that hygiene is just the conditions we're practicing that are conducive to maintaining health or preventing disease. This is really practiced through methods of cleanliness. We know it's important because it's going to help prevent the spread of germs. I'm going to break down the pathogens in a couple of slides from now. It will help prevent some disease and illness, and then it's going to help us maintain a neat and cleaner appearance. All right, we talked about the hygiene basics like showering regularly, bathing regularly, taking care of your hair, not overwashing your hair too much, hand washing often, using the 20-second rule, or your ABCs 2 times or 1 time, keeping general cleanliness in your house, your room, or your workspace, brushing your teeth at least twice daily and flossing every day, and using deodorant and avoiding perfume or cologne after a workout. All right. So with that being said, now we have to go into infectious disease. But before I get into that, let's just recap with hygiene, right? So going back into hygiene is very important in this pandemic we're facing right now, to really focus on social distancing. Make sure you're in a capacity of 6 people or less, 10 people or less. Only to come outside for very important needs. All right, but washing your hands often, use warm water and soap, and really scrub in there, get into your cuticles, all around, into the wrist, pressing. Don't just do this or clapping like that. That's not really adequate hand washing. All right, we're brushing our teeth, brushing our hair, and taking care of that. We're taking care of our skin by using natural oils to keep the skin not too tight or irritated, using lotion when needed. And just learning to use deodorant or the bod spray, which is like a film coating, until you can get home and shower. Okay, so that's really it. Also, when coughing, make sure you're coughing into your elbow like this, or if you have like a handkerchief or a bandana or like a tissue, and dispose that tissue right away. If you are going to use a tissue, then making sure you're washing your hands with the correct practices. So those are some basic things to follow on a daily schedule to help with great hygiene, and now also to help us avoid the spread of infectious disease. So now I got to go into infectious disease. So all an infectious disease is an illness or disorder that is caused by an organism that has invaded the body. So something has come into the body. I talked about the 5 portal of exit and entry. I'll explain that later on. But we have 5 areas where germs or pathogens can go in. As you can tell around my face, that's why they say don't touch your face. There's a reason for that, okay? So that's all with an infectious disease. How are they spread? Okay, they can be spread from person to person, okay? So with that being said, I was supposed to start from this current slide. Let's see. Okay, nice. So person to person, okay? That's I sneezed on you or coughed on you. I didn't practice sneezing away or into my elbow, okay? So there you go. You'll notice some cool pictures to go with this PowerPoint. Okay, it can be in contamination of food and water or undercooked food. Okay, so you think about those burgers, right? Like we're not cooking them well. Now there's E. coli, that's a type of bacterium, and it can get you sick, or food poisoning. All right. So with that being said, it can also be on the environment. So as we know with the coronavirus, it could last about 6 to 9 hours on a surface area. That's why they say like to clean all your surface spaces and things like that. Maybe wipe down some doorknobs, okay? So it could be on doorknobs and handrails at times, okay? When you're at the subway, one thing I do when I'm on the subway, even though I'm not taking as much lately, I try not to use the handrails or anything. I'll either lean, or I'll take like my sweater, wrap my hand around it, so I'm not really physically grabbing my hand there, because you'll be surprised what things can turn up on there. Okay, sometimes it can be spread through animal, right? You get bit by one, like a raccoon, or things like that, and you can't get an infectious disease that way. Um, there we go. Lots of raccoons in New York. Maybe you don't see them as much in the Bronx or in Queens, but you'll definitely see them upstate, Long Island, and they're a nice little fun pest. All right, and this was just a funny Cardi B posting. Raccoons were running wild in New York last year. All right, so with that being said, this goes back to the portals of entry and portals of exit. All right, so portal of entry is just a site where microorganisms or those germs can pass through the body. Therefore, it's going to cause an illness. Okay, so with that being said, it's usually anything that's like an open wound, inhalation through the respiratory, ingestion or sharing of needles, or through mucous membranes like cough droplets, things like that. Portal of the exit, it's a site where a microorganism leaves the host to enter into another person to get them ill. So now that means I have a bad common cold. I'm not practicing staying home because I'm sick. I'm coughing all over the place. It left from my body, and now it's contaminating someone else or infecting someone else, and now they're going to wind up getting sick because of me. All right, so as you see that beautiful picture there, we'll put like a nice blue light in a science lab, and a sneeze makes like a big parachute, big bubble of like droplets. So you'll be surprised how crazy a sneeze is. That's why you got to really be cautious with that. Okay, so sneezing through saliva, through feces, okay, urine, or blood. So these are just, don't touch your portal of entries. That's pretty much it. Eyes, nose, ears, mouth, and opening through a cut and things like that. Okay, so now we got to break down the pathogens. So we're going to go over 4. Okay, this is an organism that can cause illness or disease. We talked about germs. That's pretty much the layman term of what a pathogen is. So a pathogen is a germ. It's going to cause an illness or a disease. Okay, so there might be some graphic pictures. I apologize, but I as you notice over here on the right, that's a virus. The coronavirus almost looks just like that. Okay, hence with the little crowns, that's where it gets the corona. Okay, so the types of pathogens we're just going to go over is bacteria, virus or virions, fungi, and a parasite. Okay, so bacteria. All right, that's just a single-celled organism found all over inside and outside of our bodies. We do have some good bacteria and some bad. So the good bacteria might be like when you eat yogurt, it has good culture. It's going to help with your digestive tract and intestinal tract. So that's why doctors will tell you, eat yogurt or get foods with like probiotics. That's your good bacteria. You also have some good bacteria like in soil, like when we're farming, we need that type of bacteria to nourish the dirt and soil. And we have bacteria there. But now we have the bad bacteria that can get us sick. All right, so the bad bacteria, it can be like pneumonia, it can be meningitis, food poisoning, it can be also a common cold or strep throat. Those are ways of bacteria. So these are the little spiraled bacterium cells. That's how bacteria can look under a very strong microscope. Okay, is there a cure for bacterial infections? Yeah, antibiotics. Now, we get really happy with antibiotics, but there can also be improper practices of antibiotics, which can cause antibiotic resistance. Therefore, those medications won't work as well for all types of populations. Okay, so that's why I talked about antibiotics. This is the medicine used to destroy harmful bacterial cells, or it slows down the growth of bacterial cells. And now your immune system kicks into full function, and it's going to release those white blood cells, and then you heal. Now, I talked about antibiotic resistance. So let's say I'm supposed to take 5 capsules in that week. I decide to only take 2 or 3. Yeah, I slowed down the bacterium a little bit, but now I still miss those 2 days, and those bacterium cells are like, oh, okay, those medications aren't really hurting me. Now I'm going to become resistant to it. Okay, so that's when harmful bacteria develop the ability to defeat drugs designed to kill them. Now, when we're talking about drugs, these are prescribed drugs by doctors for colds or sore throats and sickness. All right, some types of antibiotics. This is just basic generic term. Don't worry about it. So I'm just going to move over. You need a prescription for the antibiotic treatment. All right, so with that being said, we have viruses, okay? So the coronavirus is one example Okay, the problem with a virus, you'll notice very soon what happens. So it's the smallest pathogen. You will need a really, really strong microscope to see it, but it looks like a little envelope. Okay, when the virus enters the body, it's gonna go find healthy cells. It's gonna attach to the healthy cell. So right now I'm gonna use a very simple example. So I'm gonna pretend this little pink note is a viron. It finds Mr. Sermas. I'm a healthy cell. Boom! It attaches on my body. Okay. And now what it's going to wind up doing, it's going to change the DNA of those cells so it creates more virons or more viruses. All right, it's going to make more copies. So it's going to eliminate my healthy cells, and that's a big, big concern. That's how we wind up getting sick. So that's why they'll say when you get a virus in the beginning, you'll feel totally fine. And then after a couple of days, 3 days, 5 days, a week, you really start getting those bad symptoms because those viruses are going to the healthy cells, changing them into more virus envelopes. Illness is caused by a virus. It can be a common cold, stomach flu, HIV, Ebola, smallpox, all right, respiratory problems from the coronavirus. That's technically what the virus is doing right now, okay, things of that. Is there a cure for viral infections? Yes and no. I'll say no, really, because ideally it's no, because your immune system is going to have to fight that virus with time, and then it's going to build immunity, and therefore that virus won't be as effective. So that's why when people get the flu, they feel really, really awful for anywhere between a week to 14 days, some populations even a month till it's fully out of your system. All right, so your immune system needs to be strong. That's why we talk about good health and fitness and eating fruits and vegetables, so you build that strong immune system, and that's how you kick the virus out. They also create vaccines, which in theory, yes, they will block out the virus, but it's not always guaranteed. So all a vaccine is a dead version of that virus. It's introduced into the body. Then your body's going to build more immunal properties, and therefore you'll be resistant to the virus entering your body or affecting you. All right. Right now, we don't have a vaccine for the coronavirus, but when you read into it, we are starting to work on it. There are some other medications soon that hopefully we'll be able to figure a solution to this. If not naturally, people who do recover, younger populations or people who are fit and healthy, they'll just have symptoms for a week to 2 weeks, and then you get over the virus. Okay, so now we have fungus. So all that is, it's an organism that needs to get nutrients from a living or dead host. Okay, so that can be like your athlete's foot, maybe like a fungal nail infection. Okay, and is there a cure for fungal infections? There are medications for it, or creams that you can put for fungus for it to go away. Okay, so this is like for athlete's foot or scaling. Okay, so they'll put a cream there and then it's going to go away. All right, this is also another fungus infection due to the armpit. Okay, that's why we talk about like the sweat, right? Like we got to brush and clean in there, because what happens with time, if you're not using good deodorant or cleaning your body, you can start attracting fungus in there, because they like they'll eat the minerals and the salts from your sweat glands. Okay, so with that being said, that's really fungus. I'm going to move on to parasite. Okay, very popular. You'll see them in the summertime, or if we go on a nice vacation in Greece or the Caribbean. All right, so this is an organism that lives on a living host. So both of us are going to have to be alive. So therefore, that parasite can go on the living host and take those nutrients away. So examples would be, bugs, a tapeworm, lice, okay, bed bugs, mosquitoes. These are parasites. Pretty much they come in like a mosquito. It wants your blood. It takes your nutrients from your blood, and then that's how it survives. All right. With that being said, is there a cure for parasitic infections? Of course. There's a prescribed medication, topical creams or gels, or a shampoo for lice, and it'll eliminate those parasites. So that's really our 4 pathogens. All right. So just to recap, we had the bacterium cells. Okay. We had the viruses, we had fungus, and then parasitic infections. How can we prevent the spread of pathogens? This is going to go back to hygiene and tying everything all together in these current moments. So obviously get vaccinated if they have the vaccine for the seasonal flu, all right? So if you're like, that's why they tell a lot of doctors, nurses, teachers, even kids who are exposed in large crowds to get vaccinated each year, all right? Cook and store your foods properly. Make sure they're cooked at correct temperatures. If you're going to store foods, make sure they're refrigerated well. They're airtight lids on them. And that's really it. If you have canned food, make sure they're not bent or broken, because that can be an issue. All right, just storing things properly. Avoid close contact, right? That goes back to social distancing or being close to people who are ill. All right, stay home when you're not feeling well. I know a lot of people are scared to do this because we feel we might be judged or scrutinized. All right, but if you're not feeling well, you are entitled to stay home. No one can judge you for that. All right, you need your body to rest. It's better to rest a couple days so you're full capacity versus trying to get over a cold and then spreading it to others and causing concern for our community. Do not share items that can transfer pathogens. So don't share towels with people, eating utensils, cups, or hairbrushes, right? So if I'm brushing my hair and I don't care and I look nice, right? I shouldn't be giving my brush to somebody else. Who knows? Maybe I have lice. You don't know, right? So it's very important to be careful. I'm not going to use my fork with another person when there's saliva and germs can be there. Cough and sneeze into your sleeve, all right? So if you got to sneeze, right into the sleeve. I got rhymes for you. If you got to sneeze, right into the sleeve. All right. Or the chicken, or do your chicken wing. All right. So that's very important. Wash your hands with soap and warm water. Okay. If not available, use an alcohol-based rub. That's your hand sanitizer, or some people create their own where they take rubbing alcohol and aloe vera. You combine some of those ingredients, and there you are. I'm personally a fan of using hot water, soap, and scrubbing in there for 20 seconds or so, because you physically destroy the viruses and the bacterium cells that I talked about in a previous lesson. Hand sanitizer is just temporary. Yes, it has a good alcohol base, but still there are some viruses or germs that have that 1% resistance to it. And that's why, in theory, yeah, your hands will be clean, but there is a 1% chance on your two hands that you might have a germ that is resistant to the sanitizer. Okay, and avoid touching the 5 portals of entrance or exit, specifically your eyes, nose, and mouth and ears. Don't touch those areas. That's where germs will enter. They're going to navigate into your body, and with times you're going to be symptomatic and have, flu-like or cold-like symptoms. Clean and disinfect your surfaces. That's everywhere. So even if you're at school, clean your desk. I know teachers are starting to do that more often. That's great. Use those practices at your house too, like clean your bedroom area, the bathroom area, all that stuff. Okay. So these are basic practices. So when you have a chance, just write a sentence about a time you got really sick. Okay. And where do you think that pathogen came from? So maybe think about a story a long time ago. Okay. And then to conclude, make sure you talk about 2 things you can do to limit the exposure to pathogens. So we talked about hygiene, we reviewed hygiene again, and now we're talking about infectious disease. So 2 things you can do to limit exposure to pathogens or germs. I really think these lessons are important. Use them, keep them, and educate yourself, inform yourself so you can stay protected, keep your community safe from infectious disease, and also lower your risk of getting sick. Have a nice day, everyone, and I'll see you in the next fitness lessons. Take care.